Let's discuss this further with Alexander Titov. He's a Russia affairs analyst and a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast. Alexander, just continuing that conversation that we were having with Selena there, U.S. officials are confident. They say that they are nearly 90% done with this deal. Do you believe that? And if you do, what is in the remainder of that 10% of that negotiation process?
Well, I think that's what they would like to believe, and that's what they would like to say. Whether it's 90% agreed, I sincerely doubt that. Because even if they agree on everything, there'll still be details to be filled in, including things which would be very difficult to reconcile the parties, and that's not to mention the 10%. 10% essentially might as well be 90%. Issue of how you end this war with it. You end the war on Russia's terms, and essentially Russia capturing the rest of the Donbass, and official recognition, because remember that official recognition is very important for Russia as well as just actual control. The land which is officially recognized as Russian is much more valuable to them than just their control physically. And for Ukraine, it will be very, very hard to accept, because the whole edifice of the post-Soviet identity was all this inviolability of the post-Soviet borders as being essentially Ukrainian. And those 10%, if it is 10%, I would say is almost impossible to reconcile at the moment.
So I just want to bring you to today's discussions, a lot of which centered around financing. There's been mounting criticism within the EU even within the EU, over an EU proposed plan to use frozen Russian funds to help fund the war in Ukraine. Do you see that as a viable option? And if not, what are the alternatives that we might be looking at?
Well, European Union is really stuck here, because basically it's the only party which has to finance this war. The United States withdrew completely from giving any more money to it. Ukraine doesn't have its own money, so the only party which is there is European Union. European Union politically cannot spend its own money any more than it already has spent. So the Russian assets is the only option going forward for them. But that comes across as a very strong opposition from Belgium, but not only Belgium, from other countries as well, because it's something they really never wanted to do. They wanted to use those money as in the end of the war as a kind of compensation for Ukraine. Now they have to spend it just on the war going. When the war is finished, whenever it's finished, the questions will arise: who will be paying for reconstruction? Who will be paying for the maintenance of Ukraine? That money is spent. European Union will have to fork out more and more billions and hundreds of billions of euros for Ukraine at some point. And now, during the war, they don't want to spend any more of their own money. This will create a huge problem for whatever happens to that frozen money. Will create huge problems for European Union down the road anyway.
So in general, I would say we're seeing a lot of optimistic statements. It seems like the parties involved in the negotiation process are willing to give more than they were, at least before. But do you see this as translating into a tangible peace process effort? Do you think that we are actually closer to ending this war than we were, say, 6 months ago?
We are, but not for the reasons because parties are willing to compromise. We are closer to the end of the war because Ukrainian is being extremely strained, both on battlefield and in the rear, with the strikes on the energy grid, with the slowly retreating on the front line. Russia feels emboldened. It has a good interlocutor in front of the United States, which kind of tries to be this middleman between the two, and European Union in real tatters because they don't know how to proceed. They don't want to admit that the war is lost, and at the same time they don't know how to keep continuing it without United States support, and not giving their own more of their own money. So the war we are coming closer to the end of the war, but it's not because of these negotiations. It's because of the dynamic of the last 2 years, where Ukraine is simply question how long it can hold out, essentially, and at what point it will recognize that it will have to make this very, very unfortunate compromises with Russia.
Thanks so much, Alexander. Appreciate your analysis.
Thank you.